So we're still in the season of impossible things. And today we're going to talk about God doing impossible things. So let's get into it. It's time for Grace Points. When I was a kid, one of my favorite superheroes of all time was Superman. Now, I get it. Superman has one of the worst stories ever because his secret identity is just dumb. I mean, you put on glasses and you take them off and we're supposed to not realize that Clark Kent is Superman. I know it's dumb. It doesn't make sense. Spider-Man covers his face. Iron Man covers his face. Batman covers half of his face. Superman just takes off his glasses. I know, it's dumb. But I loved Superman as a kid. I loved watching the old one in the 50s with George Reeves. I loved Christopher Reeve in the 80s and even the new Superman movies and TV shows and all that stuff. I loved Superman. I even have a Superman action figure collection. Don't judge me. It's boxed up somewhere in storage, but still, I have one because I love Superman. And what was most frustrating for me as a child watching the Superman movies was Superman 2. The one with General Zod. Because in that movie, Clark Kent, Superman, gives up his powers for Lois Lane. Didn't make sense to me. I couldn't understand how Superman, who has super strength, super speed, heat vision, and super breath, and can fly. That was my favorite power. Superman could fly. When I was a child, my dad had this red shirt, and I would put it on and button the top button and just jump off of furniture like it was a cape. Side note, don't do that. You can get in trouble with your parents. But still, I love doing it because flight was the power I wanted to have. And you're telling me that Superman's going to give up all of that for Lois? Now, go with me on this. I get it, for all you hopeless romantics, this made sense to you, but for me it didn't. Because as a child, I didn't understand how someone so powerful would give up all of that for love. On top of that, Lois isn't the most beautiful person in the entire world. She's always getting herself in trouble. I just didn't understand it. I thought, you could do better, Superman. And then as an adult, I realized that's what God does for us. Philippians chapter 2, verse 6 and on says, who being in the form of God thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation and took upon him the form of a servant and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in a fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto the cross, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of the things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Whew. That's a mouthful. One of the most powerful scriptures in all of the Bible, that Jesus thought it not robbery, being equal with God, to condescend, to become human, to take on flesh, and to endure the death of the cross. I had a problem with a comic book character giving up fake powers for Lois Lane. And I celebrated the real, omnipotent, perfect God giving up heaven and condescending and wrapping himself in flawed flesh to save me. And I'm not the best looking person in all the world. I'm always getting myself in trouble. I'm always making mistakes. God, you could do better. And he chooses to save the likes of us by God became flesh. That's what we celebrate in this season of incarnation. That the word became flesh, that God became a baby. He dragged himself through the sludge of humanity and came to rest in a manger and served himself to us so that we could have a right to the tree of life. That's the impossible part of this whole season, that God would give up himself for people like us. And he does it because of love. That ought to remind you that nothing is impossible, that God does impossible things. That the story of the incarnation is God giving up his throne, his power. He steps into humanity so that we could be saved. And now we celebrate it, that Jesus is Lord. And every tongue confesses to the glory of God the Father. I don't know about you, but that encourages me today. It encourages me to know that nothing is too hard for God, and I'm never too far gone that God can't redeem, and that God became flesh, the impossible. God became flesh and dwelt among us, and now desires to live in you. Will you let Jesus in today? I pray you'll be reminded of just how valuable you are in the sight of God, and that you'll live a life worthy of the gifts you've received in Jesus Christ. Anyway, this is the season for impossible things. I look forward to seeing you next week. This is Gracepoints. God bless you.